got a grab bag of stuff, and that starts with, what do you guys think about the James Madison decision? They appealed the decision of not being able to get a waiver to be able to play in the postseason, despite the fact that they are a very good team. They're 10-0, number 18 in the country. It's their first year at this level, and it's the 2-year process to acclimate yourself to the bowl subdivision, which is the top level, so they move over from FCS, and that's all understandable. That was a part of the rules, but because of the success they've had, they were hoping to bypass that, and they filed a waiver, and it got shot down. Was that springtime maybe or summerish? And then it kind of went away for a second, and then it's come roaring back because they're like, hey, let's give this another crack. And the NCAA, with just like, here's the alley-oop, like just dunk this and do something cool for once, decides to swat it away instead and say, nope, there will be no fun or changing here. Even though the Big 12's changing tiebreakers 2 weeks to go in the season, the NCAA can't be bothered to just give James Madison, amongst other teams, the opportunity to go ahead and play in the postseason. So the waiver denied, but a Virginia Attorney General has, in fact, hired a law firm to represent James Madison regarding the decision from Wednesday night, and they are going to take this to court. A 3-page letter from Hunton Andrews Kurth LLC argues for their inclusion in bowl consideration based on the unbeaten record, based on the national ranking, and based on their success in the 2-year process reclassifying from FCS to the bowl subdivision, saying, we fully hope and expect the various committees and as NCAA as a whole will do the right thing and allow JMU to compete in whatever bowl game its performance warrants. JMU is prepared to promptly file a lawsuit in the Western District of Virginia, asserting that the bowl ban violates the antitrust and potentially other laws. So more lawyer stuff in college sports. But what do y'all think about the NCAA and this decision?
It's a little stubborn, old man, get off my lawn. But yet again, it's a rule that they knew when they entered it.
But Bill, but they also, I think, didn't know that they'd be this good. I mean,
that's not the NCAA's
No, it's not. But Bill Connolly had a great point on this on Twitter yesterday. He said, look, yes, the rule is the rule, but it also gives the NCAA an opportunity to review it and say, okay, well, maybe it doesn't make as much sense as it did when we did it. Also, it seems to me like a rule that is protecting a very specific scenario from happening that I don't think would happen.
What, the group of 5 that they'd get in?
Not even the college football playoff. I'm talking about the reason they have that rule that you can't go to the postseason is so you don't keep your old schedule and then automatically get in a bowl. I don't think that is.
But that's not going to happen if you move into a new conference that is an FBS conference.
But so they're moving in the conference but they made the rule and it's like this.
The rules help to protect them, right?
Yeah, but
you know why the rule is written?
Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Authority.
No,
I
looked it up. I actually spoke with a couple of people that are involved in this. One of the schools is Tarleton State that was also done.
Jacksonville State as well.
Which kind of took I was like, wow, yeah. The rule was initially there to make sure that you don't jump into the FBS just for the money, and that you end up crashing and burning after a year or two, and you are only doing it for the money, which is, to me, hypocritical because that's why you would move up to the FBS because of the fact you're going to be in a bigger conference and have a chance to make more money.
So there are a lot of rules written with like the eliminating like everything, laws and all this, where they're like trying to prevent like this one really specific thing from happening, but then because if you're worried about this thing, like the thing you just said,
right,
of that happening, which I don't think it would be true for anybody. If you're going to make that decision, you're going to make it because it's a long-term decision.
I'm gonna Google if it's ever been done before.
But like you have that, so they're worried about that happening. Well, okay, if it happened once or whatever, that doesn't mean it's going to happen again. And by doing this, you are encouraging teams to make more of an investment in athletics and do those things. So I just think that it's a rule that needs to be changed. But the NCAA's vibe right now seems to be, especially with like the transfer waivers and all that, particularly for the guys who should have been in under the radar or under the wire because when they entered the transfer portal, the rules were one way. Like, they're just saying, well, that was the rule.
The James Madison elevated to the FBS, ineligible for 2 years. They knew that when they went in. Whether they're better than they thought, again, I don't care. The guidelines are intended to assure that schools have the finances and infrastructure to compete at the higher level. Now, there are exceptions to that, but that is what this was about, like I mentioned. What is Sam Houston State doing this year? getting their asses kicked, right? Mm-hmm. And they are really a pretty good football team. They're like 2-8. They've won a couple of games in a row. They're really good, as they were. And they redshirted like almost their entire team last year, and yet they're still getting bludgeoned. So they're trying to. I get what James Madison, and I understand their argument. At the same time, it's not always like, oh man, this is not fair. There are, to me though, some give and take. At least you should have the opportunity to look at things year to year based on what they're going to get into a bowl game, because I don't think 82 teams are going to get bowl eligible.
But and here's the other thing, the point I'll make. The NCAA is in the position they are right now because their standard like years long thing is like, well, that's the rule. I mean, you can't they don't. I'm not saying it's a good rule or a bad rule. Like, I think there's probably good and bad parts to it. Like you described, that's a really good, guardrail for them. But if you can look at things differently and open, then you maybe are not this battering, like punching bag that the NCAA has been.
Liberty might have been. No, hold on. I'm just trying to give you some. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I said it just seems like anytime there's a chance to just do something right and just have fun, they turn the opportunity down.
Yeah.
That's why I think people get frustrated, is because this is simple. You can't, and I understand your total point. Like, you got the authority side. I don't mean that negatively. It's like, but you very much got the company line going, and I get the company line. Like, I understand it. But you can make an exception. This is not life or death.
Well, and it's not a rule change. It's a waiver.
Right.
It can be a one-time waiver,
exactly.
And they review it on a case-by-case basis.
All right.
And if Sam Houston didn't stink, they'd be doing the same thing. They'd be doing the exact same thing. So,
does anyone know what the basis was of Liberty being allowed to move up despite not being in a conference as required by rule when it comes to the FBS? The release that it was issued, this is from a little bit earlier. The NCAA granted Liberty request to move to FBS by providing substantial information demonstrating its readiness to begin the reclassification process, the ability to follow current FBS institutions who have demonstrated viability without a conference affiliation, and the university's ability to satisfy the requirement.
Would you like me to translate for them?
Yes,
Liberty
please.
is rich.
Yes, there you go.
Liberty is rich.
So they weren't worried about their finances.
I mean, all this word stuff. I get it. I'm not complaining about you. I'm just saying, I get all the arguments and the freaking what's in the bylaws and the whatever. I'm just saying, this is not. This is not that big of a deal. They're the number 18 team in the country. They'll probably end up in a bowl game, like you said, anyways, but just reporting that they are attempting to take this to court if they don't get their way here. So, yeah, they are threatening legal action if they're not granted a full waiver. Lawsuit hasn't been filed, but they are very much going down that path, and they would seek monetary damages, a temporary restraining order, and a preliminary injunction, as that becomes more and more of the common phrases we're using on this show lately. Because they say they would be irreparably harmed without relief. So, this is going to be another legal thing here.
Let me be devil's advocate, because it's not because I like to. I'm not smart enough legally to know anything. But did we not just lose our minds because the Big 12 changed their rules 2 weeks before the end of the season?
Yeah, I think it's a bad look.
No, it's a bad look, and it makes no sense.
Because it affects the championship game. This is
especially
going to a bowl game.
That has had a history of being, out of date. So, but they changed the rules and everybody lost their minds, and especially those who were affected worse by it. And we were like, how can you change the rules with 2 weeks left in the season? And that's, again, just a thought about changing the rules about transfer or whatever this is.
But this also, the conference, the conference is behind them because the conference needs this good look.
Sure.
So here they are, this is not the conference shadily going well, you made the rule. I guess you can't be in the championship game. Oh, damn, I'm sorry that you beat us.
Yeah, the conference.
They're supporting them. They want this.
It's an NCAA rule.
Yeah,
the Big 12 is a conference rule.
But if the conference, to me, in my opinion, if the conference was kind of split on it and didn't publicly come out and support them, and that says a lot. But here they are. They have all this support for it. And look, there might be enough 5 and 17s where you're
glad you brought this one up.
No, yeah, it's great.
I wish we'd have started the show with it.
It's a great topic.
It's a great discussion, I think.
No, this is a great discussion. But I think,
I want to go on record. I want James Madison to get a waiver, but there are some things.
But this is also college football having an opportunity to showcase one of its good teams and then just going, It's in the book.
Yeah, I don't
What
know
can
how
we
many
do about
times-
this book?
I don't know how many times this has happened before in the past, and if teams that were 9-0 or whatever got sidetracked or not. All right.
Yeah, so like I said, they're just threatening to file a lawsuit if they don't get their way, and this basically was the point here. And yeah, there's obviously a very hot debate that surrounds it and what should be done and all of that. I think I didn't lose my mind over the Big 12 deciding to change their tiebreaker. I'm going to poke fun at them for that, but that's a large difference from just going to the Bahamas Bowl. Like, nobody's hurt. I guess there's a team that can't go to the Bahamas Bowl because the number 18 team in the country who's unbeaten would get to go to the Bahamas Bowl. I don't feel as bad for, like, whoever that would even be or whatever bowl game that would even be as compared to, like, a tiebreaker for the Big 12 championship that has big effects. Like, that has a massive effect on what could happen after that and what bowl games everybody goes to in the conference. So I think that's a bit of a bigger deal that you're changing that on the fly as opposed to these hundreds of bowl games. You're just like, yeah, this team who's unbeaten at number 18, they can go to this bowl game. Nobody's going to be harmed by that. You'd be harmed. You could potentially have a school harmed by the Big 12 decision.
Yeah, and they've
so that's the difference to me.
They've asked for a waiver like for months, haven't they?
Yeah,
I
mean,
since the spring, yeah.
Been appealed, and we're going over and over with it. And so, yeah, it's been dragging on. So anyways, looking like there could be more of a legal battle coming there based on the decision Wednesday. And it wasn't against just James Madison. Mentioned that Jacksonville State and Tarleton State also had similar happen as well. So
you know what Tarleton's record is? 8-3.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good year for the Texans. That's good for them, and the fact they even have
Beat
an
the
opportunity
hell out
to
of my
fight for
alma
that.
mater recently. Like, beat the hell out of him with the former SFA coach, a quarterback as their head coach, Todd Whitten.
All right, so elsewhere.